2024, it's in the books. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was a pretty wild and wonderful year. We'll get in and have a look at all the podcasters, for example, but I ended up coming first in that league. So really happy with that, obviously, but I came 757th. Last year I came 101st and I was third in the league. So it does show that a lot of experienced coaches this year did have a tougher time with proceedings and how things went. And it really just puts it out to you guys that obviously if you're doing really well, you're super experienced as well. And if you had a bit of a rough year, you can see that other experienced coaches have struggled as well. And if you've done really well, it was a really tough season and you absolutely deserve all the spoils there for sure. But for myself here now, to round out round 27 in my season, a 943, ending up at 757 overall. So as we know, it was a bit of a roller coaster the last bunch of weeks. I was 323 out to 568, 828, and then pushed back into a 757. So not a bad little finish. Obviously, Paddy Carrigan as captain instead of Isaiah Yeo. That's where it's been a bit of a tough one for me in recent history. But very happy with Damien Cook this week, Cotter, Watson, Ponga, obviously Jerome Hughes, Iro there, Drinkwater, Tedesco, and Plath all had cracking weeks and really helped me out. DCE wasn't a great one over the last few weeks, but obviously all that doesn't matter too much until I do a big, deep review, and that's going to come out on the channel there. And then I'm actually going to do a deep review of the top 10. I think it's going to be really, really cool, but I'm going to save that one. It's going to take a lot of time, so I'm going to save that one for the people in the private group who end up joining up next year, and I'll send that out, and I'll go live with that once everyone's back for the preseason next year, and it can do a bit of a deep dive into that. But you guys on the channel will get my analysis into my team, which is going to be good fun. But yeah, a 943, 757 overall. In terms of my thoughts and general thoughts on that, happy enough, to be fair. Top 1,000 in the end after, just looking back to round 17, I was around this ranking here, but round 10, I was 2,000. Round 3, I was 8,000. Round 6, I was 15,000. So did plenty of moving, and I've got to get better at my stance. But again, we're going to get through that in the deep review of my team, which is going to be good fun, that's for sure. So let's get in and check out the rankings. It's all official now. Congrats to Kai in first there, Kushla second, Pete in there at third, Jordan fourth, Riley fifth, Sean sixth, Tom seventh, Bevan from the private group in eighth, Hayden in the private group in ninth, which is just wild, Grant in 10th. They're the top 10 there, and unfortunately Matty B there falling out of that top 10, but 11th is still an incredible effort. It's my best is 50th, so very very cool for anyone in that top 50 to see yourselves on this list come the end of the season there. It'd be an absolute privilege to be in that spot. So shout out to Richard in 26 and then Mitch in 21st, all in the private group as well. Let's get into my league section and have a check out of how things are going out. And I don't know what's going on here, boys and girls, but Battle of Podcast. First, Jamie Brown. Winner, Nick Lord. How's that work? Nick came third. Nick came third, and it's got me. I'm obviously first there, and then Stuart only just got in by 18 points, and then Nick's just behind that. But it says Nick won apparently, so good work, Fantasy. Appreciate that. It's be nice to have my name sitting there next to that winner all of next season, coming into next season, I should say, but not to be. And guys, I'm going to show you how the finals fantasy is going to work as well. Once I'll put it all together once team lists come out tomorrow, and I can it'll all make sense once I explain it. But 32nd for me in the private group, 123rd in the NRL fantasy analysis community. So shout out to Riley B, the Riley Rages, that ended up winning that. He got Bev by sort of 52 points there, which is a big effort. So congrats to Riley. If you'd like to be, he'll be a part of the group, part of the private group next year. We'll get that the cost off what he wants to be a part of that group, which is really cool for next year. Is what we won in that one. But shout out to Bevan and Hayden, top two. Hayden obviously 11 points behind. Bevan with the big prize money, $1,500 it is for the overall winner. So congrats to Bev, and then Hayden gets I think 300 and a hoodie. Good stuff on that front. Mitch, Richard, and Simon end up in the top 5 there. We're actually split. I didn't even realize that. We've got both Simon and Nikki on the exact same point. So How they manage that? 5th and 6th there. Is it just based off who got the most in the last round? 874, 906. No, it's not at all. 111th and 110th. How does that work? 23,149. They both ended up that. So we'll see how that one works out. They'll have to split the prize there. But Simon and Nikki 5th and 6th. Anthony 7th. Shane 8th. Don 9th. And then Liam in 10th there. And then you can see the other guys on the list. But all the way down to myself in 32nd. So we had a really, really good group of people. Just over 200 people in the private group and 2 in the top 10 overall, which is absolutely ridiculous. So congrats to everyone who was a part of it. And just if you want to have a quick look at where my crew was at. So I was at 757. Each ended up at 1,813. So a really good first year for her. Scoop had a really nice 1,006 to end up at 5,039. Just snuck outside the top 5K, unfortunately. And then my brother, a tough 780 this week for a 7,085 finish. So pretty solid little outing from the 4 of us there. So that's the fantasy side of things. Let's show you finals fantasy, I think, is what we need to go through now. We've done all of that. Battle of Podcast. I suppose we can have a quick look just down the line on that one. So Stuart from Boom or Bust in 2nd. Nick there as well in 3rd. You had Lucy, and then Callum 5th. Daniel Long, after having a credible start, end up at 13.53. Still a really solid season. You've got Scoop down there at 5K. You've got Austin, unfortunately having a bit of a tough one after, sort of from the back end of Origin, unfortunately. And then Mark, you end up just beating Mark there, 50 points, but shows there's 500 ranks between 50 odd points there. So Mark had a bit of a rough one this year. He'll be back along with Eddie. A tough sort of finish for him. And all the guys that kind of held Cleary for way too long, they've ended up having a bit of a tough one. They're in that one, and then Adrian giving up. There you go. But all those guys there, Chris and Eddie both were 1st and 2nd last year. So Eddie won, and then Chris was 2nd, and he ended up sitting at 4,300 this year. So 2 guys that are regulars in the sort of the top 500, top 200, top 100 type of guys. Unfortunately, had a bit of a rough season, and they'll be back, and they'll be right up the top of this ladder next year. But let's show you the finals fantasy now. Let's give you a little gaze at how this one looks. But I've come up with my own scoring, which I did a couple of things with the private group this year, but it's going to open up to you guys just for now. And then for next year, we'll do Origin fantasy and we'll do finals fantasy as well, but just with the private group. So I just want to show you some things that we're going to be doing in there. But my new scoring, I've got all the running stats. So we've got, and obviously offloading stats here. I've changed offload to hand to 3 because it's a little bit OP. And then offload to ground is going to be 1. That's my big change in that one. I've got escape from in goal at 3 because I think it's a really important play. So I've just changed that a little bit there. Try scoring, it's a 12 for a try. You got 8 for a try assist. I'm given 6 for a line break and then 4 for a line break assist. So thankfully, and finally, a line break assist is worth more than an offload. So there you go. Kicking, forced dropout, I'm giving 3 for that one. Field goals are 6, 40-20s are 6 as well. So it's a little bit of a bump on those 2. And then kick meta stays the same. Defensively, a tackle is 1 as per normal, but on the contrary, a missed tackle is going to be -1. So a little bit nicer on the negative side for that one. A turnover tackle drops down to 3 because I think that's a little bit OP in some occasions, especially with that try saver. So the turnover try saver now is 7, which I think makes a little bit more sense in that one, especially if they were dropping it anyway or they were going out or whatever it is. Like sometimes they can just get a real simple, easy one there. So I've dropped that a little bit, but then an intercept goes up to 3, which is fun. So missed tackle is just the -1 now. Penalty still stays at -2. Same with error. And the sin bin -5, a send off -10. So there you go. And inside 10 is still -1. So a few changes, but just I thought this was a little bit more even across the board. So it does help if you're scoring tries, going nuts. Then you can go obviously really, really good. But if you're someone that makes 50 tackles as well and misses sort of 6 or 7, you're not getting that -12, -14 that you're going to get. You're just going to get the -5, -6 or 7, which is helpful there as well. But if you do get involved in some type of assisting, then you're sweet as well. So that's the new scoring. But how it's going to work, guys, I'll get you some of your details just so I can follow along and make sure, because I'm doing this through Microsoft Forms, that you can that I can follow you along over the weeks of finals fantasy. It's going to be just based on who can score the most points across the 4 weeks is how that's going to work. And I'm going to give out 5 prizes. So I'll go through that tomorrow as well, but it's going to look something like this. I'm going to come up with all the hookers, and I'll just get you to pick one out of all of the games, out of the 4 games, obviously. So you'll be picking one from there. I'm going to do a few more than this one. So it'll be, picking one, a couple of mids basically, but one gun, and then I'll do like a cheaper mid-range or something like that. Same thing with the edges, pick halves, pick centers, and that's how you pick it out. And all of those guys, I'll add up the scoring for each of them, and we'll give you a number on how that ends up. And then each week we'll show you a tally of where you're at on the leaderboard compared to everyone else. And I'll try and get it out on the channel there when I do updates as to, just one you can read only, a little form like that, so you can see where you're at after I've updated the scoring each and every one of those games. It's not going to be a perfect system or anything like that. It's going to work, but in terms of being able to follow it over the weekend, that's probably where it lacks at the moment. But I just think it's a fun way to keep us involved, and you get to pick a new team each week, and I'll have an emergency in there as well. So if one of you guys gets ruled out, there'll be a question there as well to pick an emergency for that week. And it'll be someone like a mid-range type of thing. So there you go. That's that one. So let's just quickly look over at my Supercoach season, which I'll go through as well and do a bit of a deep dive. But an improvement this week, got a 1354, moved up 254 spots into 2663. So unfortunately about 500 ranks higher than I was last year. I was about 2100 last year. I was hoping to improve on that one. Unfortunately, wasn't the case. I just never really got any better than 15, 16, 1700, whereas last year I was sitting in the 500 range for a good while and then kind of blew out, whereas this one I kind of got to around that, as I said, in the late teens, 1800, that kind of range, and then blew back out a little bit closer to 2900 before this week. So just unfortunately not getting the strategy correct in that final sort of 8 rounds. So that's something I'll be reviewing and trying to sort that out in Supercoach this year. So that was kind of the big thoughts from Supercoach with going through that in this one. And I brought in Ponga, which was really cool, but there was some mistakes made along the way. And as I said, I'll go through that in depth as well for anyone who's interested in that. If you're listening on podcast or want to watch on YouTube, we'll get into that. But from here on in, videos over the next 4 weeks are going to be around the finals fantasy game, and they're going to be around the general footy. So I'll do a little bit of a preview on Wednesday for the finals games, and you'll obviously have access to that Microsoft form as well, where you can input your picks for finals fantasy. So that's where we're at. I'm also doing some short form content right now on Instagram. So if you want to go over and follow NRL Cricket Analysis, all in one word, that's what it is on Instagram as well as TikTok. So I'm posting little shorts around cricket, and then just a little bit of an update on who I'm tipping in, or who I'd be tipping in the footy as well. And I'll do some bits and pieces around that. And as we get into next season, I'll be launching on the socials a lot more, which is going to be good. Something I've been avoiding for a while, and I did a little bit in the preseason, but then avoided it for the rest of the season. So I'm going to spend more time on that, which is going to be cool, and a little bit more time on the private group as well, and maybe bringing a couple of people on the channel. So there's a few things to look forward to heading into next season. You're still going to get plenty of me, more than ever, and hopefully we can make this a little bit more full-time than we are now, obviously with lots of jobs I'm doing outside of this. So we'll get there eventually, but an incredible year, guys, and we'll you'll still be seeing me across the next month or so. And if you've got guys that usually play fantasy, get them involved in this finals fantasy. I'd like to see as many people as possible that we can get in, and that's going to be cool to see. But thanks so much for the season, guys. You're all absolute legends, and we basically won't have much of a break, because we'll have this finals fantasy. We'll get into a bit of Supercoach NBL, the Supercoach BBL as well, and then we're back into footy preseason. So you'll never get rid of me, and that's how we like it, guys. So I'll catch ya in those next videos tomorrow.